wake up in the morning, telegram in hand, on to our community, the coolest in the land. Cheese cream drops a joke, got me laughing loud. Then I start to scroll down through the daily crowd. Who's the OG Prince, lighting up the zone? Is it Dama Beast or Sav on the throne? Or maybe it's Friday, Flexmas is here. Time to throw some gains and flex without fear. I toss out some questions, looking for the signs. Inside fix is ready, dropping out for lines. I keep on reading, can't look away. Those spicy emojis make my whole day. Then someone yells exit, get off PulseChain. But I ride the waves through pleasure and pain. I live in a limbo of hope and despair, but we're all in this boat and I'm proud to be there. Yeah, I might end up wrecked, burned by the flame, but I'm with the best crew in this wild DeFi game. I might end up wrecked, burned by the flame, but I'm with the best crew in this wild DeFi game.
All right. Welcome to R2R, Wreck to Riches live stream, guys. Don't forget, smash that like button, subscribe, post notifications, and if you're on X, you need to tweet, you need to retweet, you need to hit the heart button on X, right? Get this content out there. We're gonna be talking about my reaction about Richard Heart blocking me on X, right? Did I call out a scam or is it just the truth? What did I do? Richie, not my Richie. I'm more in celebration mode about it, though, to be honest with you. I'm not taking it to heart. But we're going to talk about it. Before we do that, don't forget, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm for damn sure not a professional. This is cryptocurrency. Don't ever allow an influencer on any social media platform out there to influence you when it comes to cryptocurrency, because you could get wrecked. You could get wrecked. I think I'm living proof of that too. I'm definitely living proof of that because I've been following Richard Heart for a long time, and I went hundreds of thousands of dollars into the sacrifice, both in the PulseChain and PulseX. Right, I sacrificed for the freedom of speech. I knew it was a sacrifice. I knew all the verbiage behind it before I got in. But I felt comfortable because I was like, you know what? This is an ICO, but the verbiage makes it not an ICO. So if the SEC does come, which they did early on, you know, I felt like Richard would be victorious. And he was. But I've been watching Richard Heart for, man, a long time. We're talking the top hat days, right? And when I first started doing crypto, this is my third YouTube channel. I've came back. Like I can't just quit and move on. Like life's not the same. So I've been watching Richard Heart for many years. All right. All the way up until like the point where he started doing interviews with people that I knew in the crypto space, like Ozzy, the BS Filter, Trayvon. Then I started becoming more latched on to this guy, and I was excited about, at the time it was Bitcoin Hex. Back when I was watching him, it was Bitcoin Hex before it became just Hex. All right, so I've been in the game a long time. Always like, I was drawn to Richard Heart primarily because at the time when I first, let me stop the music. When I first fell like head over heels over the content of Richard Heart was primarily because at the time I was Bitcoin, and I was transitioning into Ethereum. And back then, you didn't have content like you have now, like thousands of tokens, right? You didn't have that type of content. It was mainly Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin maxis talking about why Ethereum and Litecoin were scams. Even Ripple, they were talking about when that came out. So I had started buying Ethereum because I had been buying Bitcoin like crazy, gave up smoking weed and all that stuff so I could buy Bitcoin every Friday. I was average price $250. And then when I found Ethereum, it was $7. And I was like, smart contracts, like, I get it, but I didn't get it until I started using the smart contracts when DeFi started surfacing. And Hex was like the primary thing that came out. But I had been watching Richard where he evolved from a Bitcoin maxi to an Ethereum maxi eventually. And I was drawn to him because it was the only place I could watch content where people were giving, I guess you could say, good feedback and a respectable point of view on why Bitcoin was great. And I was trying to convince myself not to buy Ethereum, but I was just too bullish on it because I had bought in Bitcoin at $250, and I knew about Bitcoin. I first could have bought Bitcoin when I heard about it when it was roughly like $15, $20, but instead I bought silver. I put $4,000 in silver when I could have bought Bitcoin like $20 or so, which is like a big mistake in my life, right? So by the time I hit 250, I was like, dude, I could have had it at way cheaper. I got it drawn into Ethereum and the smart contracts and bought it at $7. And then I watched Richard Hart transition from that Bitcoin maximalist to like evolving into this guy who then wanted to build a token, an ERC20 token, right? And he did. And that's when Hex was born. Matter of fact, the anniversary for Hex, I think it's the 6-year anniversary, is in 3 days. That's when people think he's going to people are speculating he's going to live stream, right? He hinted a live stream. Hasn't happened, but I mean, what would be the odds of it happening in 3 days? Or was it December 2nd? Which ironically, right? Coincidentally, the PulseX sacrifice has its first, I believe, in 3 days. Yeah, its first increase, right? And what you can get per your dollar spent, like the sacrifice points, it goes up, right? The rate per 10,000 points goes up right on that day. I find that funny. Maybe he does stream. Only raised 5,235,000 so far. PulseChain, you can look at the price of PulseChain. 4 zeros on a 1.9. Now you got to look at this right here. Let's pull up the chart really quick. We can pull up the chart. Let's pull up the chart. How do we pull up the chart here? God, I haven't even been using the site, and gosh, I don't even know how long. And I remember you can pull up the chart and take a look at everything. Buy, trade, all that stuff. Let me pull it up on the good old deck screener really quick. And we'll take a look at something that's interesting before we get into the drama. It's really not drama. I'll show you the tweet that I have been going at Richard for years, though. Positive, like praising him. When I had my first channel that I only went to 3,000 subs that I left, and I made another channel up to 30 that went up to like 30,000+, praising him, making content. The funny thing about it is the term hexagon, okay, when I was making videos in December, like right after Hex launched after day one, I was making videos at the time where I lived in Vegas, and I was in an apartment with my kids, like broke, right? Before Hex changed my life. And I was singing in the car, let's talk about Hex, baby. Let's talk about you and me. And then I was like, I'm a Hex maxi. You know, I'm no longer an Ethereum, a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm all about Ethereum and ERC20s. I'm a Hexagon from Hexaco. And the funny thing is, after I made that video, all of a sudden I started hearing people use hexagon. But I was like using it because I was like, I'm a Mexican, but I'm a hexagon, right? So I went way back. I even have claim to fame to that. I believe that I came up with hexagon. I kid you not, all right? Because I was singing the song, let's talk about Hex. Let's talk about Hex. And YouTube gave me a strike like after my third video talking about Hex. And I was like, why did I get a strike talking about Hex? And I didn't know it had a lot to do with the fact that Richard Hart had this. People were on attack mode when he created his ERC token known as Hex on Ethereum. Okay. But looking at the chart here, guys, I want to take a look at something quite interesting, because if you go and you look at let's just pull up the all-time high, the all-time chart, right? Do you guys remember when the sacrifice money, this is where expectations started to really evolve. In December of 2023, Richard changed the bridge fee to 0%. I went on camera, I went on video, it's on this channel, and I said, that's the signal, guys. Buy right now. Not a financial advisor, for damn sure not a professional, but I'm buying. Because it only made sense to me at the time that he changed the bridge fee out of nowhere to 0 so that he can bring on Ethereum from the SAC money, right? He raised $1 billion. And sure enough, he started bringing over capital. And then you saw here, the chart went up and we hit SAC prices. Now, without him doing that, this never happens. This here never happens. We would have been here and just kept going down to probably down to where we were at and even worse. And at the time, he saved the chart, whatever he did. But he injected capital straight from the SAC funds, bridged over money, and was pumping his core tokens. So that's where a lot of the hype and the excitement of speculation that he is going to use that entire bag to pump us, right? And I felt that was going to be the case too. We all did. While he's fighting the SEC, because the SEC announced like late July, like right after Hex or after PulseChain went live, that they were going to go after him. So I have always had positive things to say. I can never get his attention. So recently, right, I started having different angles because the community seems to be divided on like, you need to stream, you need to do more. And I've been personally offended, right? We'll go to his Twitter, with the fact that he's always says, I don't work for you, right? He's famously said, I don't work for you. And you can see here, he has me blocked. He says, I don't work for you. Okay. Don't have expectations of the work of others. Okay. But after this entire time, other than that injection from the SAC fund money, there had been no success with core tokens whatsoever, and that's the only moment because he forced it. The success that was happening on our blockchain was coming from a PRC20 known as PDI, which had connections to other cryptocurrencies like PTGC that bonded with it and basically rode the coattails of being heavily bonded, proving that Hart's Law was real. And PDI did many X's compared to anything else on the entire chain. And it has had a strong narrative that entire time. And PTGC went up as well. So everything outside of the core tokens had strong speculation and narratives that were the only gains that had true gains with and without that injection. When the injection happened, everything went up crazy too. And then everything went back down, but then PDI was revived again. And he carried that narrative as if it was a possibility. And the reason why it was a possibility, because he never came out and denied it for about 2 years, just about almost like a year and a half plus. He had posted the chart, right? Come get your free tokens, talking about PDI. So that narrative became strong. Like, whoa, we're going to $1. And there was so many strong speculations of what happened before the chain went live, the interactions with the smart contract and all that. But the most successful tokens you saw were alt tokens that were created like PTGC and a few others. But PDI was the only free copy along with PWrap Bitcoin that was a success. So the community drove that. Okay. And they did a pretty good job, because if the community had not built that narrative that everyone speculated for and against and had a feud, there would be no action on PulseChain. There would have been nothing that was succeeding the entire time. There would have been no reason to be excited, no reason to even be on the chain. So PDI did a big favor. And that's why I don't think he nuked the idea right away until long after the fact and some things started to surface. And, you know, there was a whole debacle, right? The Dong guy, this and that, the extraction. The world's greatest airdrop turned into the world's greatest, extraction from the chain. All the free copies didn't go as planned. So we all saw this and we took note. And I talk about that because I've always talked highly of him, but we've seen some things take place that didn't work out, which showed that he wasn't perfect. And one of the things to show that he wasn't perfect was he basically bought, Ethereum with all of the SAC money at $3,700 a pop. And it went down drastically after. So he wasn't perfect at time in the market, which is fine. He's human. So I've talked about that. I've talked about, all the PRC20 airdrop tokens being nothing but an extraction to the chain, bringing it down, extracting liquidity and the money exiting. I've talked about that. And I never got any attention on any positive or negative things that I've said up until I think it was the tweet today. I had been going at him with good tweets and controversial tweets, we'll call them, which I always labeled them controversial, right? But today he went on like a post where this is the 95 million he talked about. A particular OnlyFans model made 95 million in a year. Happens to be Sophie Rain, right? And he said this girl made $95 million posting nudes to one website. Guys, too much money or too little brains. So I replied to him because I've been trying to get this guy's attention for a long time. And I see him reply to people with like 100 followers, 10 followers, whether he's talking trash or talking good about him. I've seen it. So I'm like, try to engage with him, right? And he finally blocked me because I said to this tweet, I go, you raised $1 billion in sacrifice funds shaking your ass on camera. That's exactly what I said. And it was like 15 minutes later, blocked. And I had been going in the comments and saying stuff, but that one was getting a lot of tractions, likes, and retweets, and he didn't like it. So if you have anything bad to say about him, right? There's the whole new term that he used on Corey Costa, you're cry fagging, this and that. He's on defense mode. We used to like Richard, who would go and debate on live stream and defend all arguments and opinions. That was the Richard Hart that we allowed to go on camera and outrage market and shake his ass, but we believed him because we've seen him in action prior to acting like a fool like that, right? With the watches and the shopping sprees and all that. I gotta admit, though, I feel sorry for this guy. But at the same time, you got to feel sorry for yourself because I have lost life-changing money I made in crypto sacrificing. Now, the perfect universe, I don't sacrifice, and I buy the bottoms after the SEC dip or around now, right? And you're not feeling too bad if you're buying now. But if you sacrifice, you're like, a lot of people are completely offended on what's going on with PulseX. So this Thanksgiving was a little rough for me. Let me explain to you why. Let's go to PulseX. And Christmas is going to be the same thing because the past Thanksgiving and the past two Christmases, not only did I sacrifice hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own money, but my family collectively that I got involved with Richard Hart and sold them on the idea of the capabilities and how smart this guy was. They sacrificed over $100,000 of their own money. We're talking my mother-in-law, father-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, cousins, family, put in money in a pot. And it's been year 2 on Thanksgiving. Like, what's going on? Like, last year was bad. This year is like, dude, like, what's going on? Like, I see all these tokens doing well. Like, when we got into this, Bitcoin was way lower. And you said of Bitcoin, I've always told them, like, we're waiting for the market to go up, right? Mainly Bitcoin goes up and Ethereum goes up. But this time Bitcoin went up and Ethereum didn't do anything. So I'm always coming up with, oh no, he has a plan and this is how much money is in the sacrifice. And it was just a real awkward conversation I had to have at the dinner table where, like, today, like, on Thanksgiving, I literally had my head down because I ran out of ideas of what to say because the thing that they know and they're aware of because they stay in the loop is, why is there a third sacrifice after all these years? And I didn't know how to explain it. I just go, man, I don't know what's going on. He hasn't even showed that he's alive. I don't know. I'm out of words because people that are not in tune with what's going on in crypto, they all follow him on Twitter, and they all have Twitter, and they go, well, Why would they go, should we go into the sacrifice? Because they're long term, right? So when I give them an answer, they're like, okay, I guess we'll just keep waiting, you know? But they're like, on his Twitter, it says he doesn't use Twitter, Telegram, social media, emails, messages, YouTube, newspapers, magazines, mail, TV, or radio. He goes, so I don't think any of us should do this, right? And I said, yeah, I agree, because we don't even know if he's alive. Everything that has all the entire accomplishments that he has that have taken place, which the biggest one was him beating the SEC, has been sabotaged completely. Like, it's mainly because no one cares outside of PulseChain. These are things that I address and talk about. And I think it's important when it comes to PulseX, which has only raised $5.2 million so far, right? But the proof's in the pudding. When he's not live streaming and he's not active and there's no proof of life, it's going to be difficult for him to raise money. Now, he can turn that around and start streaming. And I think that would be super bullish and start to pull in probably double, triple the amount pretty quickly. But we got a question. Is it going to suffer the same fate? Because we're 2.5 years on a sacrifice that, you know, myself and my family and a lot of people I know and friends and everyone here in crypto that I have a relationship with in my groups and all that, you know, we're all like want to believe and think he has like a grandmaster plan, 3D chess, but all we see is him arguing and then has the audacity to say that we suck at marketing. Well, I went out there on Twitter and said it's a two-way street, buddy. You're saying we suck at marketing. We don't work for you. Just like you say you don't work for us. So it's okay for you to say I don't work for you. But if one of us says we don't work for you either, you need to step it up. You created this, right? And you got $1 billion in money sacrificed that the judge says is your money and you can do what you want with it. You know, at this point, it's like we're all down. And you're up on money that was given to you with no expectations. Yeah. But how are you going to attack us and tell us those things? It's just like, well, he's trying to shake you out and the strong hands will survive. And it's like, this is 2.5 years. And we know we're depending on Ethereum doing its thing. And I've been saying that Ethereum wasn't going to go to all-time high. And it barely did because of how saturated the market is with other technologies. And where all the money went for meme coins and everything else in the business was all Solana. And now you have things that are getting bigger on base. You know, there was a lot of chains that didn't really even succeed that I expected to do good, like Sonic. And, you know, so this is like, you can't predict where people are going to put their money. But Solana stole the show. Okay, so you forked basically, it's a copy and paste of Ethereum with cheaper fees. Ethereum called it a layer one. Great. Okay. Boom. But we've seen some things happen. We saw Jack Levin break the chain. We saw this and that happen. There's problems with people not running validators. The chain, when there's action going on, you can't make a transaction. They get stuck. The chain's got some problems, right? But the biggest problem that we got into was, for me personally, was I had been drawn into Richard Hart since 2016, 2017, watching him. And I got that cult mentality, especially after I had many gains from being an early investor in Hex, day one, right? I was ready to buy it when it was Bitcoin Hex. It was like any day now, right? Then it came out in December. So my biggest mistake was buying with my heart and not like using my brain when it came to PulseChain. Because I witnessed Hex get gatekept, get called a scam for years, and then it did multiple X's. But I knew something that was going on when those X's happened. I knew that there was someone behind the scenes manipulating that price. And that's when I learned, and I speculated on my own by following the blockchain. Okay, that's Richard. And the reason why we got so many X's is because the liquidity was thin. And he understood that early on with Uniswap. Well, we were all like wondering, why are we getting this red 5, 6, 7% slippage trying to buy $100 a Hex? We're like, well, I guess we're just going to go back into the AA lobby and buy $20 at a time, right? The liquidity was super thin. I didn't understand that that's why it was able to be manipulated by, it could have been any whale that shot that price up. And at one point it was God Whale they continued to get the price of Hex going up on a double. And that's when I learned, okay, liquidity's thin. I was starting to look at the liquidity in USDC value and Ethereum, and I go, man, it doesn't take a whole lot of money for this thing to go 5, 6, 7, 10x from where we started. That's when I became bullish, and I was like, I'm going to hold it. All right. Now, regardless of it getting gate kept, and prime example of it getting gate kept, we go to coinmarketcap.com, right? Hex technically should be still a top 10 token. When you're ranked on coinmarketcap.com, it goes from the highest market cap to the second highest to the third to the fourth, right? Bitcoin sitting at $1.8 trillion market cap. Hex over on Ethereum has never been ranked in its proper spot. It's ranked 4,365, and it has a $658.36 million market cap. Now, CoinMarketCap has a little warning here. It says CoinMarketCap, after all these years, right? CoinMarketCap has not verified the project market cap. However, according to the project, its self-reported circulating supply is X amount of Hex, right? With a self-reported market cap of 658 million. Almost calling it like a Fugazi. Like it's not real. It's that like the market cap is fake. And if Hex was ranked correctly on coinmarketcap.com with $658 million market cap, it technically would be ranked above SPX 6900. It would be right below Pudgy Penguins, ranked at number 77. Now that's why Richard Hart always had a problem, talked mad-ish about CZ, because CZ acquired coinmarketcap.com. So we know that there's a personal problem going on here, right? Because they didn't do that to very many tokens out there. So CZ clearly, and the coinmarketcap.com team does not trust Richard and believed it was a scam. And that could be because of the amount of tokens that the OA address holds, where he told us believers, we don't know who that is, right? But we were like, we know it's you, Richard, but you're saying it's not. Okay, yeah, I get it. But they're like, yeah, of course it's him, and he can do whatever he wants with it and dump the price to zero. They saw that as a scam. And he has been called a scammer ever since he transitioned from Bitcoin to Ethereum in the early days. So when he came out with his own ERC20 token, a lot of people believed he did that so that he could recover from some losses. If you've been watching him a long time, you will know that Richard Hart was on a live stream with Ivan on Tech, practically in tears, talking about his loss playing with leverage. Okay. But there was also another loss that I'll play for you right now, and we'll go back, that he did. And this is, I posted this earlier, but let's take a listen on to this one.
I went there really rich, and I left really not rich because I got the shit robbed out of me. Somebody asked what happened in Panama. I went there really rich, and I left really not rich because I got the shit robbed out of me. Somebody asked what happened in Panama. I went there really rich, and I left really not rich because I got the shit robbed out of me.
So this live stream, and on several live streams, he said it too, where he talks about retiring and going to and moving to Panama and getting robbed. I'll play another one.
Retired, started traveling the world, went down to Panama, got a shit robbed out of me, as so often happens to the gringos. Retired, started traveling the world, went down to Panama, got a shit robbed out of me, as so often happens to the gringos. Retired.
So going back to that, right? I listened to him for a long time up until, and I remember watching that live on every event that he talked about that. I watched Richard Hart live every time he went live. I watched them all. And I watched them on repeat literally hundreds of times. You're talking to like a true Richard Hart fanatic for many, many years, like a cult follower. Like if he's Charles Manson, I'm like one of those chicks that goes into the house with a knife and does the stupid things that they did, right? Like you couldn't tell me any different. But what people couldn't convince me of when those conversations were coming up in Discord and Telegram were they were calling it red flags. Like, okay, how did Richard go from a Bitcoin maxi to an ERC 20 maxi? Because now he knows he can make his coin and make all his money back. Because yeah, he was. I do remember him in tears, basically talking about how he leveraged and lost most of his money. And that's why he talks about ladies, liquors, and leverage. That's how smart people lose their money. That's why I know that's where it comes from, because I've watched them for so many years. And then when he talked about retiring and moving to Panama and then getting robbed and coming back not so rich, I knew about that too. But like, I didn't know a dollar amount, but everyone was saying Bitcoin X is coming out because it's a scam. He wants to take your money. He needs to make money back. He wants to stay retired. I was like, no, dude, like that dude retired with way more money. There's no way they took everything. You know, I was in complete denial about the whole damn thing. But it wasn't flying with a lot of the people that were there during that time. I was literally just part of that cult. Literally. So, yeah, I got caught up with that. I did. And now that I'm blocked, and the only way to have gotten his attention was to criticize him, it's like, man, I didn't want that to happen, but it happened. It just had to happen that way. I have to part ways after all these years of being like, no, man, Richard Hart would never do that. He's got a 3D chess, 7D chess. He's in it for the glory. Now I have to critique him and be smart, because now I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars of my own and then my family's. I need to evolve as a smarter person. And I'm there too, watching all the replays of where, yeah, I remember he said all that matters is not the tech. It's just the price go up. And we've seen all the arguments where he talks about all these tokens and their price has been down for 2 or 3 years and that they suck because of that. But I guess he's the exception. And the interesting thing too is everyone believes that the EOS raised, the ICO for EOS, and that the fact that they've raised all the money that they did at the time, right? And they had volunteers marketing, just like people are volunteering PulseChain. It's almost like maybe he got that idea as like a comeback to like earn his way back to whatever status he was. I didn't see it then. Now I kind of see it now. And I'm like, so what's the PulseX thing going on? Well, with PulseX, there's only a few things that make sense to me. We do acknowledge that Ethereum is down, right? And it's been tornado cashed. But at some point, unless he wants to run for the rest of his life, he has to square up with his bill. And that has to do with the tax evasion charge. Forget the slapping the kid thing, whatever. Like, that's nothing. Anybody with money could pay their way out of something like that. So I wonder if he has that money or he doesn't. But where would that money have been owed from? Where did the ETH go? Where did the ETH go? There was a lot of ETH raised during the AA lobby. So all that Ethereum earned, obviously that is probably where he did not pay taxes. I would assume it could speculate, right? So what I'm trying to get at here is like, I have to evolve it to a greater place of stop putting Richard on a pedestal, because now he has insulted all of our intelligence and our marketing abilities, where it's just been us, the volunteers, like the volunteers at EOS and like the volunteers at Pulse. We have to hold him accountable and put his feet to the fire. We have to come out and get blocked by him. We have to come out and have content and say, listen, yeah, you don't work for us. I don't work for you. But you raised $1 billion. You talk a lot of smack. You like to talk about how much smarter than you are than people, how big people is, you get your ass, all this stuff. Like, when is something going to change tech-wise with PulseChain? Oh, well, here's PulseX. Well, PulseX happens to have the same exact tokenomics as a project that's already been out that released on Base. Okay. So ZKP2P, all right, building a permissionless and composable on and off ramp protocol, on ramp to Base, Solana, Hyperliquid, Ethereum, plus 20 other change from Venmo, Cash App, Revolut, and more. All right. So everyone's saying copy and pasta, right? Copy pasta. Just like the same thing with Ethereum. The technology that he's raising $5 million for right now already exists. Okay? It already exists. It's right here. Go to zkp2p.xyz. So I don't understand why anyone would want to sacrifice after they've sacrificed and they've been down. And even if they traded their way back to even, which most of us have been working to do that, like I've done my very best to be even with more tokens now, but I'm not up. What in the world? Why would I go for PulseX when it's already exist on Base through, right? To be in a position where if I sacrifice for PulseX, then I'm going to suffer the same fate because Hex has been not rightfully ranked on coinmarketcap.com because he's gate-kept and hated by all the big names. So what makes you think PulseX is going to get that type of acknowledgement and the nod of approval? We on PulseChain are going to be excited, but hey, it's already out there. What is ZKP2P? It's the first trustless P2P off-ramping bulletin board. Enables new buying and selling crypto experience that is fast, cheap, and composable with DeFi. We have the same thing. Currently, the only way to buy and sell crypto is through centralized exchanges or custodians, which are expensive, slow, and require unnecessarily intrusive identity verification. That's KYC. So $5 million has already gone into a sacrifice for technology that's already out there. And this is for me giving you an angle where, like, I believe in PulseChain still. 2026 token, however, it's going to be a 2026 event. At some point in 2026, the chain will turn around with the rest of the market is what I'm hoping to see. But it doesn't make sense for me to sacrifice when there's already this technology out there that's going to that people are going to be like, okay, we don't care about PulseChain. Didn't care about Hex either. It's a scam. How do we get around that? And plus, it's already in existence, right? Using cryptographic proofs of transfer, ZKP2P allows buyers to authenticate that they have transferred the correct value to sellers. Buyers instantly receive their crypto in less than 60 seconds with settlement facilitated by full non-custodial smart contracts. It's the same damn thing, guys. It's the same damn thing, okay? What in the world? So PulseX is not some new technology. It's not a new idea. It's just made by Richard. So what is going on here when he's tweeting about it, acting like he invented this? And like, I don't get it because it's coming off that way. So that's where I just become like, it's highly questionable. But again, I'm going to hold my bags for dear life and just give my opinion that's less biased. Like, I'm not going to be on that Richard Hart bandwagon. I'm going to be question every step of the way. If I had done that before, I wouldn't be in the position that I am today. That's the lesson you learn. You don't evolve and get better in crypto and start to lose less money unless you wake up and look at yourself in the mirror and hold yourself accountable. You sacrifice for freedom of speech. And then you use freedom of speech on blockchain by making transactions. But in the reality of the freedom of speech, as far as X, you get blocked by the guy who you helped raise tons of money, because I talked a lot about the raise of Pulse and PulseX on my larger channel. They had 30,000 subscribers. I brought a lot of people to the sacrifice. A lot. And a lot of you did too out there that are influencers. So he raised all that money for the sacrifice live streaming and with the help of the community that believed in him so dearly. So things are just not what they used to be. They're not what they used to be. So let's take a look at the chat. I do have one positive take. RH has his team behind Liberty Swap and making moves through them. Liberty already integrated ZKPTP, I think. If not, he really hasn't done crap but to take the money. Yeah, Liberty Swap has done everything they can do to prove that you know, they're in it for the greater good. Like I talked about, we need to support the altcoins and I'll show one example. On a video not so long ago, I talked about we need to support the altcoins, and that's why I bought P Tiger, and that we need to support P Tiger because Crypto Tiger, right, on Twitter is an influencer who has influence from other communities like XRP and on TikTok and other social media platforms. And I was like, we need to support this guy, right? And that's what it's all about. Richard has not gone out there and supported really anything. He did promote Peacock, but he did the same with PDI. Then he bagged on PDI. So I don't know if any time he might go out there and say something bad about Peacock, God forbid. But P Tiger, I went out there and said, listen, man, we got to support builders, and we got to support certain influencers too. And I pointed this out when it was back here. I think we're all, when I talked about this, should be, 5x plus, and it's doing great, right? Shout out to Crypto Tiger. But yeah, I said it publicly, like, yeah, I'm going to buy this token because I want to support him, right? And the way you support him, and you just buy it and hold it, and he's doing a lot of good with marketing and has a lot of control of the supply, kind of taking a page out of Richard Hart's book with the whole OA and controlling the supply, you know what I'm saying? So that's done very well. And outside of that, it doesn't get any better than that. And the liquidity is going up, the market cap, it's still low, liquidity is still low, can still continue to take charge. People previously sacked for freedom to transact, then got blocked to transact with their coins, right? Here's a shot. Here's a video for you guys to watch in regards to PulseX.
Fuck, man, I just checked my portfolio. That shit nuked to $100. That man got me again. Now I can't buy a Christmas turkey. Bye. Let's drop a bunch of whole ass truth on this beat. Richard Hart scamming, got us all in defeat. He bought PWBTC, stacking his own game while telling the suckers to buy PLS. What a shame. Hired OnlyFans models to bull post all day, making PulseChain look alive in a fake ass way. Rackham's a coconut head motherfucker, straight clown, while Richard's enemies calling him out from the town. Jim Rat Crypto, that fool was right on the money, spitting facts about the fraud. Now it ain't even funny. Eric Wall clocked it too, saw through the lies. Richard's no better than one coin lady hiding in the sky.
I don't want your PulseX, fat man. Gave you $1 billion and you threw it away. This shit ain't gonna bottom ever, fat man. No more sacrifices from me, you ain't never gonna get my pay.
Hey, fat man can't step out without Interpol on his tail, hiding in his crib, scared his scam ship's gonna sail. Targeted middleweights, Christians preaching fake salvation, promising crypto heaven, but it's pure damnation. Jim Rat Crypto warned us every word was gold. Eric Wall echoed, this dude straight cold, like one coin lady scamming folks into the dark. Richard Hart's empire crumbling, leaving his mark. I just cashed out my T-shares worth a bowl of ramen, noodles for dinner thanks to your bogus gambling. OnlyFans crew hyping posts, but it's all smoke. Richard, you joke, now the whole scene's broke.
I don't want your PulseX, fat man. Gave you $1 billion and you threw it away. This shit ain't gonna bottom ever, fat man. No more sacrifices from me, you ain't ever gonna get my pay.
Yo, shout out to the victims, Christians praying for returns. But fat man's burning cash while the world learns. Jim Rat and Eric prophets in the crypto fight. One coin vibes, Richard's running from the light. Interpol lurking, can't even hit the street. Rackham's coconut dome, admitting defeat. T-shares crashing, ramen's all I got left. PulseChain's dead, thanks to your theft. West Coast boss closing this, mic drop on the scam. Richard Hart, fat man, you're done, no more glam. Jim Rat was right, Eric too, one coin twin. Hiding from the lawyer and setting in. Peace out, believers. Don't fall for for the next con. Keep an eye on this fat man.
I don't want your PulseX, fat man. Gave you $1 billion and you threw it.
Oh, shout out to whoever made that. Oh, it's hilarious. But in all seriousness, at least P Tiger's taking off, right? Maybe not the PulseChain core tokens or anything like that. I like Hex when it's super cheap. I know that, but other than that, there's got to be a whole lot of change, guys. And I think the starting point is, you know, some live streams, bring some life back into this network. You know, update PulseX. You know, there should be no reason why it's not up to speed with, you know, its capabilities. It's just, there's a lot of tech that's lacking. So PulseX is cool, but it's already been done, so it's nothing new. It's shocking that people paid $5 million for it, but those are true believers. Might even be some of the SAC fund money for all we know, or something. You know, it's a mirage. That ain't really what's happening. But you know, from the looks of things, I just think it's a big win for me, especially to get blocked by him. I finally got the acknowledgement, right, that I've been looking for. I praised him for so many years and so long, never got one like, no retweet, no replies, and then, you know, you get acknowledged for the negative things, which unfortunately that's life. And I made that tweet earlier talking about, you know, no one cares that he raised money for $27 million for charity, for medical research, right, for the Sense Foundation. No one cares about the self-help books. Nobody cares about all the free advice and saving them from scams. All they care about is the powerful words that he has said with the confidence that nothing matters but green candles, right? And everything that he has done, it doesn't matter. They see red candles, he's a scammer. Before he even created PulseChain and he had created Hex, he was a scammer. That's all he's been known for. And all of us have sat there and defended him till we're blue in the face, and we just get told we suck at marketing. So yeah, it angers people, but that's the name of the game. It just is what it is. Don't forget to pound the like button. Drop a comment. Till next time. Yeah, dog.
I wake up in the morning, telegram in hand. On to our community, the coolest in the land. Cheese cream drops a joke, got me laughing loud. Then I start to scroll down through the daily crowd. Who's the OG prince, lighting up the zone? Is it Dama Beast or Sav on the throne? Or maybe it's Friday, Flexmas is here. Time to throw some gains and flex without fear. I toss out some questions, looking for the signs. Inside fix is ready, dropping out for lines. I keep on reading, can't look away. Those spicy emojis make my whole day. Then someone yells exit, get off PulseChain, but I ride the waves through pleasure and pain. I live in a limbo of hope and despair, but we're all in this boat and I'm proud to be there. Yeah, I might end up wrecked, burned by the flame, but I'm with the best crew in this wild DeFi game. I might end up wrecked, burned by the flame, but I'm with the best crew in this wild DeFi game.